What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Meet the Critters. It is episode 45. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Joe.
And we have a fun one. I do want to apologize for us missing last week. I live in a sadistic climate, and we decided to get 2 feet of snow at the end of March. So I was out plowing all night. So we didn't end up doing the show. We were trying to do a catch-up show, and then
it just didn't work out.
It never ended up happening. But we have a fantastic show today. We're going to go ahead and bring Greg and Ashley Manning up from Lazy M&M Farm in Central Wyoming. What is going on, guys?
Not a whole lot. How about you guys?
Oh, we're living the dream.
Yeah.
We're farming. We're always living the dream,
Aren't
right?
Yeah.
Amen.
So we usually just like to start with the show with just having you guys tell us a little bit about yourself, what you got going on, and we'll just get right into the show.
Well, so we do have that little lag that we briefly talked about, so I apologize for that. We are in the middle of nowhere, literally, unless we stand on one foot, dance around like a ballerina, and spin 2 times, and blink 5 times. You rarely get any service over here, which is nice.
Exactly.
Blessing and a curse. So yeah, Greg and Ashley, we are first generation farmers here, or I guess ranchers or whatever you want to call us. We moved up to Wyoming, Riverton, Wyoming area from Colorado. And with that, in general, we wanted to start and raise our own beef. We don't really like the grocery stores and the big grocery store names, just the unknown factor. And I think that's everybody's, not necessarily fear, but kind of like what they're trying to veer away from. So in general, we wanted to raise our own, and it was Christmas of 2021. I found a pair of Longhorn cows, or I guess heifers at that point, that they were exposed, but they weren't officially preg checked. So that was kind of my Christmas gift to him. So just Longhorn cows getting us started, and I knew we wanted to crossbreed. We just didn't know quite sure with what. We were looking at how the breeding processes work, and we dug a little deeper and discovered the Angus cattle where it was going to be the best bet for us to crossbreed our cows with. And also looking at the labelings as well, because originally we didn't know how we were going to feed our animals or take care of them or anything like that. But we decided to go further with natural and grass fed and finished rather than what the labels in your grocery stores are showing today. And just being proud of the fact, like, our cows and our beef, they are born here, raised here, treated like spoiled little pets, like little dogs. And we find the best processing ways, and we respect all the animals and all the lives here on our property, and enjoy sharing the opportunity of giving consumers the full transparency of possible questions rather than, again, the fear of unknowns. But yeah, just a lot of fun and sharing as much information as we can with people that have no clue what they're doing. They don't know how to ask the right questions. They don't know how to get the information. And even then, I mean, we're learning. So, I mean, we do research all the time. So we'll learn right with everybody else.
No, for sure. And that's the crazy thing, because I'm also a first generation farmer, like jumping right in and figuring it all out. And I am also one of those people. I'm glad that you guys are cut from the same cloth as us, where it's like, we could just raise just this one breed that we know works, and it'll be fine. Everyone's done the math. We know how this works. It's like, now let's throw some crazy stuff in there and see what happens. Yeah. I do that with my pigs. Like I've got a bunch of heritage genetics into my production pigs just to see what happens, to try and grow like a more cold weather tolerant pig that I can raise throughout the winter. So it's definitely putting in some of those different genes is super fun, but there are times where it's like, why am I doing this?
Same way here. Yeah. First generation farmer, mixed bag of just about everything with my cattle, pigs, goat herd, sheep that I'm starting now. So
You're crazy.
A little crazy to be in the.
yeah.
So I do have to ask, why Longhorn? Why did you get into them? I'm not saying anything bad about them, but there is always like that. Oh, Longhorns. All right.
Yeah.
Well, to be completely honest, they were the cheapest ones that I found on Craigslist at the time.
Yeah.
So that got us into that, and I sent him a very cryptic message of, "Hey, are we able to benefit, like, eating wise from Longhorn cattle? Like, are they meant for beef?" And that's where he's like, "Okay, well, what are you doing?" And so we looked into that, and then we're like, "Well, we're stuck with them. Might as well learn about them." And we learned more of the nutritional facts of the Longhorn itself, and that, in general, starts out as a lean meat, and we love that. And bringing the grass-fed and the grass-finished into it as well brings it even leaner. So we're kind of experimenting with that this year. And with that, we have our breeding stock of cows of Longhorns, and we have kind of a deal with our neighbor. We do work for him off to the side. We'll help him with his cattle and anything that he needs, essentially. And we will bring our cows actually next door and have a little breeding powwow with their bulls. And they have the Black Angus.
Right.
And looking into the breeds, the bulls actually carry the dominant characteristics in the breeding pattern. So when you're looking at your Angus, they have the marbling and that just like rich that taste. Like, I can't describe it. Y'all know it. If you eat meat, you know that like deep Angus grilling taste. So we're hoping with the Angus bull that'll carry it over to the Longhorn crosses. But we were kind of terrified at first with the Longhorns because we didn't know how dangerous or we're not set up for Longhorns in the chutes.
Right. And they can be wily. They can be wily for sure.
Then you're mixing Angus in on top of it.
Yeah. I was on a live last night and I was talking to somebody about, I have seen on Facebook, like somebody posted a Highland belted Galloway cross. And I'm like,
why would you do that to yourself?
Who is that is the most evil person I have ever heard of. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, a herd of those, you could take over a small country. Like, that's terrifying.
That's like a Chihuahua and a Heeler mixed together.
Exactly. Like, it's just like, you want to die by the hand of your cattle. That's what that sounds like to me. And the fact that they were selling it and they said nothing about, because I looked at it was about a year old, and I looked at the description, and there was nothing about aggression or nothing about temperament in the post at all. And I'm like, I know why they're selling this year-old steer. Like,
you can't sell something when you say it's aggressive.
What was that, Greg?
That right there is about 75% of what's wrong with this industry, because those little mini cows that everybody has, that they're real cute when they're a calf, and then they grow up to be 400 pounds, and everybody thinks you're going to stay the size of a dog, and then they don't. You know. No. And then you cross a belted Galloway, so you get a long, hairy, belted, like, it looks real pretty. It's cute, and it'll probably get you a lot of TalkTick views. But it is, unless you know what you're doing and you have the space, like, you probably shouldn't have it in your backyard.
No, it's not. Go ahead, Joe.
That goes for
I thought about doing some of the miniature, well, not miniature, but smaller animals to breed to some of my larger cows to downsize the frame on my animals, but it has to be the right temperament one.
Yeah.
And then you got to, a lot of people are getting into breeding the miniature cows. They're not breeding for conformation. They're breeding for small.
Right.
And they're not paying attention to the actual genetics and stuff of their animals. Same thing when I had Nigerian dwarf goats for a while. I got out of them because I wasn't making any money because there were so many backyard breeders in my area. It wasn't worth it. I had nice registered stock, and nobody wanted to pay the prices for them because they could go down the road and get one for $50 from somebody.
Right.
And they're all, they're not correct conformation. They're not producing, a decent amount of milk like they should. It's the same thing with anything that's small and cute.
Well, I was on the soapbox last night. That's the problem with all of it. You're right. They're not looking for conformation or any end use for this animal. They're just looking for a paycheck when it comes to that calf or that goat or that pig, whatever. They're just looking for the paycheck. So all of a sudden you have Highland heifer that is the meanest thing, puts everyone up fences, can't be worked with. But guess what? You can still stick a bull in there. You can get a calf from her, and you can sell that calf for an ungodly amount of money because they're TikTok famous and everyone wants a Highland. And now all of a sudden, you've just unleashed a demon into the world. Like,
yeah. Well, or you bought it because it was little and cute, and you put it on your little 2-acre little house with your garden, and you brought it home in the back seat of your pickup, and now what do you do with it? Like, it's not going to yield enough meat to have a butcher come out and do something with it. And you can't do that because it's your pet now. So
most people.
Yeah.
And that's a bad thing too. A lot of the people that breed the miniatures are like, you only need a ½ acre per cow. Well, it all depends on the region you're in and how well your grass grows. I tried that. I started with a breeding pair of Dexters. I want to say that was my first cattle that I bought. And I had 4 acres, but it couldn't keep up with what is the amount of grass they needed. But when I was first doing the research, they said a ½ acre per cow. I'm like, I'm gold. I got 3 acres fenced in. I'm golden. I can rotate them through there. I'm good to go. 1 month in, all the grass was gone and it wasn't coming back. It's like, it's not.
This wasn't a great plan.
Yeah.
Regretting life decisions.
Well, it's especially go ahead, Greg. Yep.
Say, like, even with us, it's kind of like we knew we wanted cattle. But we were thinking like we were going to do cow-calf pairs and just take the calves to the sell barn, and then she buys these 2 Longhorns. And like, we really didn't have a plan for almost a year, before we came up to do what we're doing. And it was like, because I'm like, you can't take these crossbreeds down to the sell barn and do anything. So we were in the same boat. Like, we were just, living life, had some cows. And then it was like, well, what are we going to do with them?
Right.
So,
man. I had 2 cow-calf pairs with 0 fencing. Like, that was my introduction to cattle. I had extra stalls. I was helping a buddy, and we watched the first calf get born. And I was like, oh, right. Yeah, no, we're going to do this forever. Bought all 3 of the calves he had that year and just built from there. It's like, I look at it now and it's like, I have a plan, but do I have a plan?
I have a whole breeding program for pigs and cattle, and I still don't have fencing.
That's the joy of it.
Yeah.
Well, if you wait until you think you have everything you need, you'll probably never do it.
Yeah.
Right. That's huge. This is one of those things you do need to dive in and go, all right, we're going to figure this out. And of course, I'm an idiot. And I, once again, was just like, I don't really want to just raise Yorkshires and do this, that, and the other. Let's toss all these Ossabaw Island hogs and Mangalitzes into this genetics and see what comes out. And it's the first roll of the dice. They're like, meat quality is fantastic, but they're going to hang at. They're getting bigger. They're plumping up. They're going in end of next month, and they'll probably hang around 160 to 170.
How old will they be now?
They'll be 11 months when they go in the cooler.
Yeah. So I had the same thing. Me and Kyle have similar breeding operations with our pigs. I started out a couple of years ago breeding pigs with Mangalitsa crosses. Quickly found out that's not the route that I wanted to go. I like having them as mothers, but having anything half Mangalitsa or more, it didn't work for my program. It works for some people. It didn't work in my area. So I'm breeding out of that, and I'm doing more Berkshire Duroc. I've got a couple blue butts and an old spot sow now that I'm crossing stuff with. My piglets are looking fantastic, so we'll see how it
It's all
rolls out.
just figuring it out and throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. The hard part is you got to wait however many months. With pigs, it's again 7 to 12 months. With beef, you're looking at
worse.
You're waiting for
24
16 months on a good animal.
Well, that's just waiting for them to fill out and see how they're going to be. Then you got to add the 9 months gestation into it on top of it. You got 3 years into the animal before you decide if you want if it's what the route that you want to go. You're already a whole nother breeding season in. Then you're like, that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying a Murray Gray Bull this year with my cows. I've got a mixed bag of cows, and Murray Gray seems like to be a pretty decent bull. I looked at his calves crossed with different varieties of cows, so we'll see. I don't like horns myself personally because I am also the processor, and I hate dealing with skull, flopping around. You can't get them down the kill chute, so you have to shoot them out in the pen. I don't want to deal with it. So I breed for polled genetics now with my herd. It's easier handling them and stuff.
That's the nice thing about like when we breed them back to those Angus bulls is like those 2 yearlings we have some nubs, but
nothing
like,
compared to
the Longhorn had nubs like that 30 days after they were born.
Yeah.
Right.
So
because the Longhorn is the recessive gene, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So somewhere on that bull side there were some horns, but not anywhere near what the Longhorns would have been.
So if I remember correctly,
two.
There's 2 different polled genes. So he might have the recessive and dominant gene instead of 2 dominant genes. That might be why you're getting some of that, cross with the Longhorn that is dominant for horns, obviously. So
which I mean, if my horns are coming out like 2 inches compared to 18 inches in 2 years, like I'm
safe.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
right.
But the nice thing about like the Highland and the Longhorns, you can make money off the skulls too. It's an extra revenue that you wouldn't get that something you're going to toss on a regular one. So I get it. Like I understand. Have you guys processed any of your Longhorn Angus cross yet?
No, so that's a year out.
Next year.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. I'll be interested to see what the quality of the meat is being grass fed.
I am too. And because they're both a year old. So they would have been born in May.
Yeah.
No. So they're not quite a year old.
So as of May, they'll be
So in May, they'll be a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably already 900 to 1,000.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, where that 2-year-old is probably right at 1,000 just being Longhorn.
Right.
So they're you could definitely tell those Angus genetics are there.
For
sure. How that comes out in the marbling, I'm waiting to see that.
Yeah. It's like
I've noticed. Go ahead, Kyle.
It's like the worst, like that anticipation of waiting for Christmas and seeing what you're going to get as a kid. Because you're just sitting there watching the thing for 2 years. Like, what is this? What is this going to be?
Yeah, well, nonetheless, it's not something that you just sit there and wait for. You're dumping money into them this whole time.
Right.
Like, we're all in cold climates, so buying hay. I don't know what hay costs you guys out there. What how you get your hay, but I figured out I have 9 head of cattle and a couple of goats and a couple of sheep, and I'll be well over $4,000 in hay this year, and we don't have it nearly as bad as the Midwest, from what I understand. So,
Yeah, we spend about $750 a month on hay for the 7 head we got.
Yeah.
What's a
adds up.
round
Yeah.
cost you guys out there?
So we get 4x4s, and
Okay.
I get 6 4x4s, so running about $12.50 a bale at a time for $750.
All right. Yeah, because I know
So
there's a reason I'm out of beef for the time being. I'm probably taking a break off of beef for a couple years before I get some infrastructure built. But it's like I've been looking because I'm still in the industry, like with the shop and stuff like that. So I'm talking to everyone. And if you're getting decent, good quality hay, you're spending $200 plus on a round bale.
Oh.
One round bale. And it's like, what? Okay. Like,
And
super glad I didn't have beef this year.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty lucky. Our area is pretty agriculture, and we've got really good grass and stuff here for the most part. Last year was a little shifty with the rains and dry weather, but I spent $30 a round this year, and I lined up my baleage for this coming up year at $30, and I pay the net wrap and for the baleage wrap. So it's not horrible, but it's still enough because I'll have, if I don't sell the calves from last year, I could have upwards of 14 cows, somewhere around there, going into next winter. And so I'm looking at it like I'll probably need 130 to 150 round bales to get me through the winter, depending on how harsh the winter is.
Yeah, and that gets tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and for us, we were doing, we're still getting hay from next door. That was also another like huge thing for us, since we do know the neighbor very well. We also used to work for the irrigation company to supply said water, so we knew exactly down to the nitty gritty from the beginning where the water came from, how it got there, what's in it, all of those fun facts, and like keeping everything like super local and super like small business and supporting as many local people as possible too.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, I am actually super excited to see when you guys do get steaks back, like what that's gonna look like. What do you guys have out there in terms of like infrastructure for like processing and stuff? Do you guys have a bunch of USDA plants? Do you have custom people around? Or what are you guys looking at?
Calling around, there's one location that we had, which we're still fairly set on. It is a USDA facility, and we tried actually the meat that they had for sale in their store too. And they're also super like into local beef and keeping everything local within their shop. But unfortunately, their chute does not fit our Longhorn that we are going to try and process in June. And we definitely want to try and keep the skull in contact with the horns. And we had to find another location that, they're a good location. We've bought all of our fat when we go hunting, and we process those animals ourselves, but not our cattle and livestock. But they are USDA inspected, but they're just more so a hole in the wall. And then there was also another guy that he's not inspected, but I forgot his name, but he hires somebody to come out to your ranch and do the deed for you on property, and then you bring the carcass to him. So I was like, no, I love my animals. That's one part of my heartstring that I cannot do.
That's tough. Yeah. Yeah, because me and Joe are both custom exempt shop. Like we both own custom exempt shops, and we've done our fair share of the on the farm, going to the farm and stuff like that. And you can always tell the second you walk out of the truck what kind of day it's going to be. Whether it's one, you're looking at the animal you're doing, or two, you look at the wife, because things have to be different depending on one of those situations. Like
I've had a couple husbands also, so
that's very true. I've had a couple husbands be very upset.
Yeah. But like the one thing I do like about it's tough to do the on the farm slaughters for there. I mean, so much stuff can go wrong. But the one thing I do stress to people is it's a lot less stress on the animal. They're in their home, they're comfortable there. As long as they're fairly calm with someone new coming on the property, that stress factor isn't there. And I do personally believe that it does help the tenderness of the meat, not stressing the animal out. I've got some farms that prefer it, and I've got some farms that are like you guys that they'd rather not have it there, which is completely understandable. I'm setting up my shop so I can do both for now, but we're looking at possibly going USDA down the road, and we're going to do something similar where eventually I'd like to open a storefront and try to buy just from local producers, partner with a handful of farms that I know how they're raising their animals. I know they're not putting antibiotics and growth hormones in it. And I can have, I can go to them and be like, this is the price I can offer you. I need this many animals from your farm this year. I can guarantee you that. And hopefully build up a relationship with some really good farms and set it up. And then having the YouTube channel helps because I'm thinking about if we do get to that point in a couple of years, I have like a video we set up on our YouTube channel where it's like Meet Our Farmers, where we go do a tour of their farm and interview them. So our customers can have the personal interaction with the farmer where their meat comes from. But we're just buying it from the farmer, selling it through our storefront. Hopefully that happens someday. Right now, we're just custom, still building, unfortunately. Yeah. It's been pretty crazy, but
well, it's tough with the Longhorns because a lot of USDA facilities are moving away from doing horned animals. Like a lot of places are setting stuff up to where it's like they're dealing with pulled animals. That's the majority of what they're dealing with. The USDA facility I worked at, like this guy behind me, it went through there. We have a farm up here that raises Texas Longhorns. They have a property here and in Texas, and they just ship them back and forth for breeding stock. It's nuts. But we did Longhorns there forever. And it's like the only times that I ever saw people running like by the cut room was on the days the Longhorns were there because they all of a sudden pushed their way through the headlock or did something that it was like, oh my God, like panic. But when they sold the business to the new owners, my boss blatantly told them outright. He's like, I'm not telling you what to do. You are not the person to do Longhorns. You're not it. Like, he's like, I don't want to be a jerk, but that's not for you, sir. Like, yeah.
Unfortunately, USDA put such a stronghold on regulations. That's why most shops don't take stuff like that because, there's a one-shot rule. And if you don't make a clean shot, you could be shut down for weeks doing paperwork. And that's the biggest thing is handling, the way me and Kyle do it, we can come out to the farm or even have it in our pen, put it down safely and work it into our shop the way it is. But with the USDA handling facilities, they have to come into a kill, shoot, knock box, whatever you want to call it. And to get the horns in there and keep them secured tightly so they're not moving around and get a good clean shot, you got to either have a really good person behind the gun, captive bolt gun, whatever way you are stunning the animal, to make sure that animal goes down in a clean kill. And that's always most processors' goal is to take that animal down as cleanly and efficiently and as humanely as possible. I can't speak for all processors because I haven't worked that many, besides my own and another shop. But with the USDA rules and regulations, and depending on how the inspector is, I completely get why a lot of those USDA shops don't even want to take the chance on bringing Longhorns, Highlands, anything that's even kind of wild or crazy in, because you get dinged or rode up and you end up now you're 3-4 weeks of rescheduling people's and then you got people's animals that are sitting at your shop that God forbid that happens, the first animal coming through and you got 5 or 6 beef and a few pigs and lambs or whatever for the day, and you're shut down. Now you're trying to figure out what to do with everybody's animals.
Yeah. I promise we didn't have you guys on to have you questioning your genetics. I realized halfway through this, I'm like, man, you're not being great hosts on this one.
Believe me, every time I look at what it's going to take to get a shoot built, I question our genetics choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just got to teach all your cows to turn their head when they walk in there.
Just teach them to do this.
Well,
have that gangster aim.
Like,
we tried.
The yearlings, the heifers, and that steer, that 2-year-old steer, like they were young enough to learn. Those 2 cows were like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah, no, thank you.
So it was more, we pushed them into an area really quickly and then really quickly closed the gate right next to them and squeeze as tight as possible and try and not blow it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it got.
Hey, listen, that plan sounds fantastic. I see nothing wrong with that plan.
I've got a couple Santa Gertrudis cows.
You know, actually, the worst one that actually ended up coming back and running me over was a black yearling at the time.
Yeah.
It's the Angus.
Yeah, that's the Angus.
Dixie. She got like 3/4 of the way up there, and I thought she was going to go. And I turned around to make sure a gate was shut, and she turned around and came right back over me. And I was just like, what happened? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Angus have always been known for their just very subtle behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that me personally, right now the market, like you could send your Angus Longhorn calves in there as long as they're black to the market, right? I don't know how your guys' market is, but like all of our local markets, dairy Holstein Cross Angus calves topped out last week at $9 a pound.
That's insane.
100-pound bull calf, $900. Like old bottle calf.
Also, ours too. Wow. And ours, if there's like any coloring or anything like that, we get docked. Normally, horned gets docked a little bit too.
Yeah.
But you're looking at, I think when I looked at it last week, it was $3 a pound average for steers and cows.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
We get the buyers up here that they're predominantly looking for black-hided animals, but you send your Herefords or any red or tan colored, I think they were $230 or $240 a pound last week. Which, I mean, we're in Western New York. We're not out in big cattle country. We have plenty of beef farms, but no, monster herds up here. And that's really good. 2 years ago, you were lucky to get, 80 cents a pound was really good money for a feeder calf, even a black one. And now they're, $230 a pound was for Hereford crosses that my neighbor sent a couple weeks ago. So the black ones were going for more than that.
Yeah, and that's like, I don't, it'd be interesting come about September, October at the grocery store. Because that's when you're going to see all these high feeder calves. That's when they're going to start entering the grocery store. It'd be about then. So it'd be interesting to see what happens prices at that time.
Yeah, I just told my wife that.
Yeah, it's getting scary. I mean, it's been scary, but now it's like, again, looking at it from the mindset of a producer to exactly what you just said. It'll be interesting come September, October, because nobody is thinking about it now. Like Gen Pop isn't thinking about it. All the farmers are.
Nope.
And we're looking at it going, this is going to be a rough fall, like price-wise on everything, which it already is. Like, it's going to be tough to see where it goes from here.
Well, I mean, a lot of the farmers, depending on how they have their farm set up, especially grass-fed and finished. I was thinking about this yesterday. If you could keep your prices similar to what you're charging right now, you should have no problem moving beef come this fall, winter, and springtime, because right now I'm seeing, because I have a list of customers and farmers in my shop that I started this fall, and I'm trying to connect people, and a lot of it is people are like, well, I can go and get store-bought beef for a little bit cheaper than what I'm paying for that. Realistically, I think that it's going to come to the point where if you can keep your prices the same as a farmer, you're going to actually be cheaper than grocery store prices come fall, winter, into the spring. And then, you got day old calves that are going for $1,000, $1,100, even more than that if they're heavier. That's going to drag on for the next 2.5 years to finish those calves out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be seeing the effects of that for long term. It's not like hogs and chicken and goat and lamb where they turn around that first year. You got 2 years, 24 months, even in a feedlot for those calves, 18, 24 months to finish them out. So, it's going to be, beef prices are going to be up there. I think at least in the store, it's going to be up there for quite a while. I heard that they're going to be, on the hook prices are going to be up there at least till fall, because all the fires down in Texas, and then the national herd average being at its lowest point since the 50s. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, you take in the fire, you look at how many cattle from down there in Texas and Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona that just got dispersed just because of the drought last year. I remember seeing videos of the line to get into the sale barn is out of their parking lot down the road, and it's 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, animals were dying. Animals were dying in trailers from heat exhaustion because they were waiting in line so long. Yeah. And that was a year ago. We went from a record low to a record high in a year on cattle prices.
Yeah. So it'll be this fall, going into winter, probably even next spring and summer, it'll be interesting to see what box beef prices do.
Yeah, the only way they're going to keep it cheap is if they doing like they're doing now and import it for the same price they're going for. Which, the way our government's run, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, we're already at a record. There's more food being imported into the United States than we're producing.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts. That's insane. And that's going to come to a headway real quick.
That's on purpose is what it is.
For sure. But and then all us crazy people are out here just chasing around whatever we bought. But we'll be the winners in the end.
You say it's all animal.
Right.
This ain't a get rich quick scheme at all.
No. Well, I've mentioned this on the show before. It's if you look even back 30 years ago, the trope of a farmer was oh, he's just broke and he's just got a bunch of animals and we just leave him alone and he just does whatever he wants out there and he makes a living and he's fine. Knocking over pews that don't need to be here right now. And now you need to be well-funded or in major debt to raise livestock. Those are the only two options right now on raising your own food. And that is also probably on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and that's that was my biggest thing. I told her, I'm I don't care. Do your research because she's the one to get on the computer and, read all the statistics and all that. I'm I don't care what breed you pick. I'm but we will self-fund this. I'll go get a mortgage for the house because I got to pay rent anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm but everything else, has to pay for itself or we can't do it.
Right.
And that's like I'm hoping this calf's good.
And that doesn't
so
happen.
I can start getting some of.
No, that's what.
Well, I mean, that steer we bought her, she was already bred through that steer, and he was 24 months in March.
Yeah.
So to feed him for 2 months or for 2 winters, to get him to where he's at. And there's still we're this close to June and there's no guarantee that he's going to make it. So then the next time is a year out, so it's it gets depressing sometimes.
If you were to put farming down, if you didn't call what it was doing, just put it down on a piece of paper, what is involved with farming, and don't tell anyone what it is. Be kind of discreet about the descriptions. It would sound like the worst torture ever. It would be who would do this? And it's
even if you
me, I do it. I do that.
Even if you just posted a spreadsheet with no explanation on it of costs and revenue, they're like, who is spending this kind of money to get one check one time a year?
Yep.
And you're at that, especially in the starting stages, because I'm still in the starting stages of my cattle herd. I'm 3 years maybe before I get to the point where I'm might, depend if the prices drop out from underneath me, I'm screwed before I even start seeing a profit that I can pay myself back on what I put into it.
Right.
Maybe.
When we put our pigs in the cooler this fall. Yeah, when we put our pigs in the cooler this fall, me and my wife high five because we made $1,000. It's
nice.
Hold on a minute. Wait. We raised these things for 7 months, did all of this, and it's cool. We have a mortgage payment. Yes.
But did you actually make $1,000 or was that the money?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you got to figure all the feed you pay, in expenses and
that's not time.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
That's when I did my cost breakdowns on those YouTube videos. I'm sitting here wait, this doesn't make sense. I pretty much paid them to take the meat that I raised for this whole time. What am I doing? So we're in this year we're taking some time and revamping what we're doing with the farm and trying to figure out how to at least get it steered maybe next year to start becoming profitable, because we just started our butcher shop. We opened in November. We're doing another edition. We can't afford to lose money on the farm for another 3 years. So it either needs to get moving in the direction where it becomes profitable, or we need to downsize and become, so we're only raising for ourselves, because it makes no sense to feed a whole herd of cows. And I've got, I got 3 breeding sows, one that never took that needs to be processed. I have a boar, and I have 2 more gilts lined up for this year. And I'm not even planning on raising feeder pigs this year just because of feed prices and figuring out where we're going to be. So it's tough. It's tough, especially when you're a first generation farmer like all of us. You don't have that guidance from your parents and grandparents of saying, hey, we tried that.
Don't do it.
It's not going to work out for you. And none of us had that generational land or equipment or anything else that we inherited, that we already had the infrastructure there. We can play around with different ideas.
Yeah.
So it just brings that, that much more stress and, on top of everything else we're trying to do.
That's what makes it hard. You can't go out and buy 100 acres of hay ground out here, and they want $10,000 an acre because it's underneath the pivot. And then that hay that's coming off of that 100 acres isn't paying for the $10,000 an acre. It does, the math doesn't math.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you got to go out and you got
these days,
I don't there's a property just down the way. It's 328 acres, got an 800 head feed lot, and they want 2.6 million. And I'm
I believe it.
that place over 30 years isn't going to pay for itself.
No.
Well, even
how do you?
You can't.
How
Like
can
no
you
one.
go to the bank with?
You can't feasibly go to a bank and go, I'm going to start a farm and I'm going to utilize all of this infrastructure that's already here. Like, I'm not building any of this. All of this is already here. I'm going to utilize all this. The bank would look at it and go, no, you're not. Like,
Yeah.
No.
that's not happening. I've looked up the Zillow price of our house.
Well,
we bought in 2018 when they took $100,000 off the property because of the location. Well, all of a sudden COVID hit. I looked at it recently without any updates to like what we've done here. It's 700,000. We talked to our realtor because he's a friend of ours, and he's like, I could get $1 million for your property right now. And it's like, you're not making $1 million on this place, because I'm certainly not. Like, it's crazy. It's impossible.
it's like $1 million, huh? Sold. If you could sell it for $1 million, sold. Get it out of here. It's like, but that's, I just seen a farm relisted today. It's an old Amish farm. I think they paid, because I was looking at it when we were buying our property we have now. It's 100 acres, and I want to say it was listed for $150,000 total. Land prices here in Western New York aren't horrible, but the taxes and the cost of living and all that is what gets you.
Right.
They just relisted for $750,000 a year and a half later.
Holy cow.
There's a place, and it's not 10 minutes from us. Last summer, it was online, and they wanted $550.
Yeah, and now it's
now it's $850 a year
That's
later.
Nuts. And it's
And
like
they
the major problem with it all is everyone who can afford that is either not going to farm, like there won't be livestock on that ground, or they're the people that it's like, we're going to get rich raising mini cows. Like, that's those people. So and then you look, and then I get bitter about it because I see all these people, and you see it on TikTok a whole bunch and on YouTube and everything. And it's these people that came into it with a bunch of money because they had the money, and they buy the best equipment. They buy the best fencing. They hire a bunch of people that probably weren't here 6 months ago to put up all that fencing. And like, it looks pristine. But then you listen to them talk, and it's like, you know nothing about any of this. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like,
that's the problem with, all of, when we're putting out content on our multiple different platforms, people don't know, especially people that aren't been around this kind of lifestyle. They don't know that they don't know what they're talking about. They're going to take that to heart. That's the worst part about it. We're trying to be educational and actually teach the people the right way. And if they don't find our content and they're listening to some other Yahoo that's telling them completely different, false stuff that they have no idea what they're talking about, and then these people follow what they're doing, and it's just like you got like this whole slew of people going out and doing it. They're like, oh, this isn't as easy as it looks when they're doing it. Well, yeah, because those people paid 12 people to run their farm for them. Right. They've got employees behind the scenes. And so, yeah, of course, it's not going to be as easy when you go and try doing it on your own.
Oh, we had somebody ask us, hey, can we get a job with you? It's like, you can come over, but it's all volunteer work there, bud. There's nothing being paid out around here.
Yeah, I'm like, if I'm not getting one.
Yeah. If I'm not getting paid, you're definitely not getting paid.
The only thing that's getting paid on my farm is the animals when they eat.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Yes. And us when we eat them.
Yeah. But even then, you're like, how much did this actually cost me to raise? Like, I started this year with the YouTube channel. I'm starting like.
No. We don't need to think about that.
Right. Yeah. Listen. That's fine. We don't need to think about that.
It's depressing when you do think about it, but then you sit down, like me and Kyle have talked on a previous couple podcasts. When you sit down to that first meal, the whole meal that you've gotten from your farm that you raised, if it's just the meat or meat and eggs, you sit there and you're like, this is what I've been working crazy hard for the last couple of years. And it tastes better. You know exactly what's in it. And then you're like, okay, it's worth it.
Right.
Now, how do I make it so
It's
I'm making
like-
some money, or at least my food is paid for? That's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to get it so my food is paid for from all the extra that I'm raising.
Right.
And then hopefully eventually I'll start
And that-
turning a profit. We'll see.
That's one thing. Like when I came up with the idea to do the farm to table beef and sell direct to the consumer,
Mhm.
she's like, okay, like I see where other places are doing it. And then like we sat down and like broke down the spreadsheet, and it's like when it's all said and done, like I have to have this, and we're not going to get rich, but
No.
we'll pay for what it costs to raise them, and then we'll make a little money,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's
So
what most
that was-
people.
Like she's good at that stuff as far as doing the research and breaking it down, and this is what it really needs to be.
Right. Yeah, and it's like the thing that people don't realize who aren't in this life is that there is more to this than financial. Like Joe said, like sitting down and having that first steak or having that ham or like cooking that bacon and being like, "Oh my god, this was raised right here." Like this was born here, was raised there, died there, cut up there. Like it's amazing. And like even with that, it's like I've got 2 girls, 5 and 2. So it's like to see them walk out into the pastures and like pet on a 500-pound boar that just wants love. And it's like to see them grow up in it. It's like, yeah, it's worth every penny.
Mhm.
Like that's why I'm doing it. It's fun. And like I do make some money, like especially with the shop and figuring stuff out like that. But it's like at the end of the day, we're raising good people that are being raised well fed with the best meat that they could possibly get because it came from their backyard.
I have
Exactly.
I have to say, Kyle, you said it's fun, but we all know that there's some days where you're cussing everything that you're doing out, questioning your sanity and why you're doing it. And you know, I get those probably twice a month.
Oh, there's days where I've absolutely
Just
looked at the
pour out
calendar.
and
I've absolutely looked at the calendar and goes, I could put all these pigs in today. And I can butcher them in the next week and a half and it'll be fine. Like
it does make a huge difference when you own your own processing plant or butcher shop.
right, it makes a massive difference.
Because you're like, you know, you're messing with the wrong guy. Like, I will run you through the shop and figure out how to deal with it later.
Every time I see a pig on pavement, if I ever see a pig with hooves on pavement, I just know it's a bad day. Like, none of my pigs should ever be in the driveway. And when they are, I'm like, oh, today's going to suck. Like, it's just not going to be good. So what do you guys have planned for going forward? Like, what are some things you guys have plans that you want to do with your setup?
Well, we really want to win the lottery tickets and just buy all the herds that we can buy and land and start that way. But
that's the best answer we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
No, I think we found where we're sitting at. If right now we have our cows getting ready to calve, and I think having the consistent 4 calves a year kind of fits perfect with what we're able to do. We still work a 9-to-5 job during the week, and so we work and then we come home to work
right
again. But the herd size that we have right now works perfect for what we are able to do. And I brought down a sheet. It's probably going to show backwards on the screen, but we have animal profiles, and we want to come to a point where if someone wants to see what they want as far as beef wise, like our steer, he's had a dewormer stuck on his back, and we're looking at a antibiotic free dewormer this year, but he's had dewormer and an injection when he was first born. So we document that, but like we keep all of our calves 100% all natural, as of course, unless like medically necessary. But like we document that. So like if someone wants to look at specific beef, like we actually just got those profiles in. We want to have it more available, kind of like a menu, but not really a menu. Like you're still getting what we give you, but like, do you want this specific animal? Do you have a preference? Anything of that sort. But keep out what we're doing, and we're hoping to bring out maybe some more beef packages. We're really into trying to break down the simplicity of purchasing a beef, and I'm sure with any other animal in general, it's an investment, and it's a really big chunk of change, especially right now. And you look at hanging weights versus take-home weights versus live weights, and you get someone down the road that know the difference between left and right, so they think they're getting 750 pounds of what they paid for, and then they come home with only 400 pounds, and then they get kind of a little upset, and they don't know what they got. And I see that
people are
on Facebook.
People are getting upset about it, and they're not like, I've seen, and I know Joe has too, like this slow season has been real slow. And what I'm hearing from a lot of my customers is it's like, yeah, we got animals to bring in, but no one is buying. No one's buying it. Or it's like, I don't have the money to put it through. Like, I don't have the money to process it. It's so bad. I forgot about this, and I wanted to bring it up on the show because it made me giggle. The facility I used to work at, like I said, got bought. And like almost 2 years ago, when I was bringing my first boar home to try and like get piglets, I was like, listen, I know how this works. Like, I kind of want to get on your calendar because I had a couple stores that were interested in buying pork from us and everything. And I'm like, I don't want to come to you guys, but like, also you're the closest. Like, so I'm going to go ahead and just put me down on a wait list for going into whatever year. Well, after multiple different management hiring and firing and stuff like that, I get a call, and I'm like, hello? And they're like, hi, yeah, we saw in our notes that you wanted to get some pigs through the shop. So when do you want to bring them in? And I'm like, I'm all set, actually. And I could hear the tone in her voice because it's the same tone that I get when someone goes, oh, actually, I'm just planning for the fall, but I wanted to get a hold of you ahead of time. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I wasn't depending on that or anything, but I get it. And I was like, all right, you guys have a great day. It felt nice to be on the other foot of it. But that's happened with processors all over the place because we're taking that step back. The homesteading and everything and people buying from local, it made a massive leap forward. A ton of people were getting into it, either raising their own or buying from local people. But now, again, the math doesn't math. People can't rationalize that big of an investment for something to put in the freezer because they don't think about it that way. Like, because they've been in grocery stores their entire life. And it's like, I could just go and pick up pork chops. You can't.
Part of that too, I think, is just the economy's gotten so bad. It's so expensive to live.
Yeah.
That's where I'm seeing a lot of it. So me and my wife's been talking about this. I'm honestly considering setting up some kind of maybe payment plan, especially on beef and pork, where they can pay ahead of time, so it's more affordable. They can, people can let go of $50 a month or whatever, instead of cutting a 2,000. I think I just sold a beef for a farmer. It was, with processing, it was a little over $1,000 a quarter.
Yeah.
And for most people, that's a good chunk of change to be for a 150 pounds of meat or whatever they came out to. So I'm trying to figure out ways to, the problem is I got to play banker in it, and I've got to keep track of who's making payments, what payments are made, and whatnot. So with the pigs, it'd be nice because that's going to go right back to their feed. So I'm not pulling out of my pocket. With beef, I'm trying to do grass-fed, grass-finished. But that'll go, I can put it in an envelope in a safe somewhere and with their name on it. Every time they put a deposit, write it down on a slip in there, and then call them, be like, hey, I'm putting this beef through the shop in another month. I'm guessing his hang weight's going to hang right around here, just so you have a kind of an idea. This is how much you might owe left. And get them to the point where they're only paying the processing, or maybe a little bit off that. That's what I'm really considering doing that. I think it would help a lot with our sales through our farm and the butcher shop also.
Right.
That's a good idea.
Well, and because we were just going to do quarters, halves, and wholes, and we weren't getting a lot of hits on that, but she came up with the barbecue bundles and stuff where it's a much smaller amount. So maybe you're getting 10 pounds of hamburger and 10 or 12 steaks, for X amount. And people started jumping on that because it wasn't, a $1,500 quarter. It was, it's $100. And, if I get this, it'll fit in the freezer I already have in my apartment or house. And that's what I would just wouldn't go to the grocery store type deal. So kind of having smaller chunks, even, smaller than an 1/8, kind of help.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, a big thing. I've gotten a lot of people stopped in my shop asking about buying small bundles or, individual cuts like that. And that's one of the reasons why we want to go USDA, so we can offer that, because the USDA shops around here, me being a processor myself, I hold myself to a really high standard, and I expect that quality from everyone. And a lot of the shops around here don't put that quality out. So I refuse to send my animals somewhere else to have it done. So I'm hoping that we do get to the point where we go USDA and we can offer a good quality product for customers that are selling. Or if we ever get lucky and the Primac goes through, would make mine and Kyle's life a hell of a lot easier.
So much easier. But yeah, you guys have been absolutely fantastic, and we are absolutely going to have you back on. We're getting up over an hour here. Where can everyone find you?
So we are on Facebook. I think you tagged or you put the link down in the description. But we lazym&m.com. We have blogs, kind of more information about the Angus Longhorn crosses with the nutritional facts, ordering information. But mostly Facebook, TikTok, and our website. And Greg, he does most of the TikTok shenanigans. You'll see his face most of the time. He has a better
go and follow them on TikTok. It is, I love the TikToks. They are absolutely fantastic. They really are.
I appreciate it because I feel like it's getting a little boring just going down and shoveling hay to cows and then petting them. I'm like, hurry up.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir. You've seen my TikTok. My TikTok is a dumpster fire between educational and just downright wrong. So yours is awesome and wholesome, and it's look at these cows, and then it's here's Kyle over here making a crude joke about something.
His pigs molesting each other or something.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Oh, reality, that's awesome.
Well, I'm hoping a calf soon. That way I can be like, oh, look, little babies.
Oh,
hey, hamburgers.
Well, that's what I give. I'll give Zach Nash a shout out on here. Go follow him as well on TikTok. That's what I give. I give him crap all the time, just because I'm like, oh, you're just raking in all those baby goat likes. He just sits in the middle of a goat pen and is just like, look at all my goats. I'm Harry Potter. Look at all my goats. Yeah.
Yeah. He'll go get live with his 6 goats. Did you see his live this morning?
Yeah.
So everybody's like, "Where's your goats?" The only reason we're here is to see goats.
Yeah, why do you not have goats in a holster everywhere you go? Yeah, I make that joke, but I'm like, as soon as May 22nd rolls around and I got 2 litters of piglets on the ground, woo, you better believe I'm going to be extending the Wi-Fi for it to reach that pasture. You better believe it.
We just got bottle lambs and the piglets, and baby goats will be on their way in a couple months. See, I'll be set.
You could start a TikTok today and just go sit in the barn with the pig and just take videos of the piglets, and you'd be up at over 1,000. Yeah.
I'm trying to get my wife to do it because I just don't have the time to do the YouTube
He doesn't have the dark sense of
and
humor
everything else.
that is needed for TikTok.
Take your put it on there.
We'll see. I might get there someday. We'll see.
We're gonna get you there. I'm just
one way or another.
I've got a list of people off of TikTok that we're going to start bringing on the show. So I'm just going to start berating you with people telling you to get on TikTok, and it'll happen at some point. Well, Joe, where can everyone find you? Because you're definitely not on TikTok.
No, not on TikTok. You can find me here with Kyle every week on Meet the Critters podcast. Blakesley Acres on YouTube, Blakesley Acres on Facebook. Everything's connected to my email. So if you want to get a hold of me, it's probably the best bet because it gets sent right to my phone and I check it multiple times a day. And we're also on Telegram. I'm on a couple different groups, but I'm admin for Kyle's group, Critter Crew. So yeah, that's pretty much it right now. Someday I'll get on TikTok.
No, you won't. And you can find me everywhere at Backwoods Butcher 603. That is TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, even though I never post over there and I really need to. I say it every week. I need to start posting on Instagram and I just don't. I don't know why I hate that platform. And also we do have the Telegram group, the Critter Crew. The invite link to that is in the description. I think we got like over 30 people in there now. And it's just
yesterday, I think we were at 33.
Yeah, with just a bunch of like-minded folks raising livestock or thinking about raising livestock.
Yeah.
And we just shoot questions back and forth, pictures back and forth, and just go devolve down horrible rabbit holes. It gets bad, but
it's been pretty calm lately.
It's been very calm lately. I think
it's just because we're so busy, we're not posting on there.
That's it. You and me aren't in there, so
Canadian and there's a couple other ones that post regular.
Yeah.
Usually Canadian. He's in there most of the time. So
our favorite snow Mexican.
Yep.
But guys, we'll absolutely have to have you back on. I am so excited to see what those calves and like you're expecting like calves like at any point now, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly if we go down and check, we might.
I was just gonna say you could walk out the door right now to fresh calves. The udders on what was the one where udders look like alien teats, where it's just like, oh, you poor thing.
Oh yeah,
that's her normal.
So she's been like that for 2 weeks.
Oh God, that is awful. Poor thing.
So her first year calf, she didn't do that on. But last year, we walked out there one day and she's just bagged up. And I'm like, oh, like, we're going to have a calf, this week. And then that week drug on. And I'm like, if you don't have this calf, it's not going to be able to nurse off of you. And then, it was like almost 4 weeks after she bagged up like that before she dropped. I was like, I felt so bad for this cat.
Yeah. You might be the first TikToker that ever milks a Longhorn.
Nope. And no, you to come do it for us.
Hey, I'm stupid enough to try it.
Yeah,
I try it once.
We'll put you right up there with that guy that has a saddle on that Scottish Highland that he runs around the mountains.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah.
All right, guys.
We'll fly you out here. You'll be
perfect.
That'll be my intro.
I'll fly out to film that. I'm not getting in that pen, but I'll fly out to film it. That's for sure. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone watching. I appreciate you guys coming on. We will definitely have you on again. And to everybody else, have a great night.
You too.